Barb here for basic World of Warcraft interface guide. I'm going to go over all the basics of pretty much how to play World of Warcraft to the simplest degree. So, to start with, these are your action bars down here in the bottom. When you make your character, you're going to only have one action bar. If you go into your options, you can enable more action bars. I'll show you how to do that later. On the right hand side here, at the very top, you have your mini map, and just a little bit more up to the top and to the left of that, you have buffs. Right now I'm a mage, I'm using an ability called Ice Barrier. If you look at my character, you can see it around me. It absorbs damage, and that's saying how much my Ice Barrier absorbs for, and how much time is left on that particular buff. I can renew it on cooldown. If you also look down at my bar here, I used Ice Barrier, and it went on cooldown. And it's showing that it's on a 25-second. It has a 25-second cooldown, and if I hover over it, it says there's 16 seconds remaining in counting. Pretty much every single spell works differently depending on which class, character, and talent specialization you're playing. And all different spells have different cooldowns. Some of them don't have cooldowns. Some of them are an instant cast, and some of them have a cast timer. So yeah, that pretty much differs depending on what you're playing and who you are and what your role is and stuff. Going on the bottom right hand side here, here's your quest log. When you go around the world, you'll pick up quests. The quest givers will have an exclamation mark above their head, yellow exclamation mark. If it's a quest story that you haven't really done yet, you see them actually on my mini map right now, yellow exclamation marks. So it means that it's a campaign or quest story. I'll go stand in front of one so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Probably would have been better to show you on a lower level character because I have to go into the sewers here to show you this. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, no, let's see. Should be fine. Hopefully nobody will kill me because this is a PvP zone. Yeah, so it looks like this. It has a yellow exclamation mark above the NPC's head if they have a quest that you can accept. You pretty much sit here and hit accept the quest. This one's kind of weird. It's about currency trading. That's why it's like that. If it's a once you complete the quest, it will turn into a question mark, or once you accept the quest, it will put a gray question mark above that NPC's head instead of a yellow exclamation mark. After you complete the quest, it will then put a yellow exclamation mark above that NPC's head saying you could turn it in. And how you can do is you can check your quest status here on the side of in the quest log to see how much more you need to kill or how much more things you need to collect to complete that quest before turning it in. The other thing is not all quests you can pick up at NPCs or even turn in at NPCs. Some quests you'll pick up randomly just by entering a zone, or you'll even pick them up by looting a body of a dead corpse. And what will happen then is it will pop up an exclamation mark here on the side of your quest log, and then you need to hit that exclamation mark to accept the quest, just like when the exclamation mark would be above an NPC. The next thing that you need to do is, again, some quests are in a chain, so you don't have to go back to the NPC for all quests to complete a quest and accept the next quest. Some quests will put up an question mark right here upon completion, and then you can complete it and it will give you another quest. So that pretty much goes over the quest log and how it works and the quest system in this game. There's something called dailies, which are repeatable quests, and dailies show up on the map with blue exclamation marks, as you can see here. Like this one here is a blue exclamation mark. It's Blingtron. And they show up on the map with blue exclamation marks, and when you complete them, they'll have blue question marks. That being so, one more thing. So the mini map, the mini map will show any quests in your area that with a blue circle Like, you'll put a blue circle saying you can kill stuff in this area. This is your questing area. If you exceed that light blue circle, it's not showing up right now because I'm not in a questing zone. But if you exceed that light blue circle on your mini map, then you're leaving the area where you can kill or collect or complete your quest. In other words, so you need to go back inside that blue circle. If you bring up your map, sometimes you'll notice there will be multiple blue circles, like maybe one here, another one here, and another one here. That means that you can probably complete the quest that you're trying to do in any of those circles. It also might be that you have multiple quests. So just make sure that when you're hovering over the blue circle, it's the same quest that you're trying to get done. That being said, also make sure on this game there's a plus to zoom into your minimap. It's best to always have it zoomed all the way out. So that pretty much is the questing side of the thing. This is called pretty much your raid bars. If you're in a raid, you'll have your party over here on the right hand side, and you can click on them. Now, if you are yourself, will always be fully highlighted. If you let me make it bigger so it's easier to see. You can make it bigger by going into interface and make sure you're on the game tab, not the add-ons tab. And you go all the way down to raid profiles, and then you can adjust the frame width and height. You can even unlock it and move it wherever the heck you want to move it, like that, and just by clicking on the tab here. So if you're a healer and you prefer your bars, your raid profile not to be up here in the side, and you want it to be down here, you can have it down here in the center of your screen for healing, and it's much easier to see with your character and what it's standing in and stuff like that if it's in the center of the screen. So you'll notice that my name right now is blue. That's because the mage class color is blue. A Death Knight class color is red, for example. So if I was a Death Knight, it'd be red. You'll also notice that my color looks like full blue, and I'm in my group with my girlfriend right now, who's on her monk ukulele, and ukulele is a monk, and hers is like a jade. Monk color is like a jade green, but you'll notice that it looks faded. That's an indication that you're out of range. As a healer, and for most casters in general, a lot of your spells are going to be 40 yards, and I believe it starts fading around like 50 or 60 yards. The name will fade, so that's an indication that you're out of range of whoever you're trying to interact with. So you need to move closer, and you can do that by just like checking on the mini map or just like being aware of your general surroundings in general. So if you notice, as I get closer to her, she's no longer faded to me. And let me type /range check. Okay, so it's saying that she's about, it's not really checking it. Oh, let me type /range 40. This is, if you do /range, it'll automatically check within 10 yards. Right now, let's do /range 40. What? There we go. Okay, so yeah, like I said, so this is the center, and this is a 40-yard radius around me. So she's just on the edge of the 40 yards. Now if I strafe here, it shows that she's outside of a 40-yard range of me. So it's green. Now this is a command that you can do in the game. It's not something that you really need to worry about. It's more complex. But in some fights, you can't be within 10 yards of another player, because otherwise you guys will die. So this is a decent way to check if somebody's within 10 yards of you and try and space yourself. So pretty much if you have it set to /range 10 yards, you know, then it will sit there and it will say it will be green if the person's outside the range radius. It will be red if they're inside your range radius. So that's a good way to know how to spread out, for example. Right now I just reset it to 10 and put it down. So yeah, you can do all different kinds of stuff with the raid frames. One thing that you can do, another thing is that there will be tanks in different roles. So like for example, main tank will have a shield. You see the yellow shield and stuff like that. Now, so we pretty much went over like if somebody's in range, a 40-yard range of you, which means that you can heal them. See, so it is exactly 40 yards. So you can heal them, you can't heal them. You can heal them, you can't heal them. That's pretty much that. So how do you know if they need healing, in other words? So generally it's a good thing to keep heals rolling on the tanks at all times, but how do you factor in like missing health or something like that. Oh crap, that was like way too far. You can see I popped up dead there. I didn't mean to do it that far, but yeah. So that's how you know somebody's dead. And then there's the missing health, and then there's even an absorb there. You see how that looks different? That shows that I have an absorb on myself for a set amount of health. And then again, if I drop down, again, not killing myself, the black is how much health I'm missing. So that shows how much health I'm missing. And that's how you know if somebody needs to be healed. It will show a black status here. So that's really useful and stuff like that. There's also roll checks, ready checks. You can drop markers on the ground to indicate, oh, take that group of minions here and then move the boss here instead. Or can group 1 stack here on purple and then group 2 stack here on green. Because they might have 2 separate debuffs and you don't want them swapping. Like there's a boss called Thaddeus, for example. And pretty much he has like negative charge that he does on his left foot, and then a positive charge he does on his right foot. And generally speaking, if the negatives and the positives cross, it's a whole bunch of damage. And you're sitting there probably thinking to yourself, oh, why would anybody move from the left foot or right foot then? Well, every now and then he does this thing called preliminary shift, where he shifts his his discharge, in other words. So if the negatives are on the left side, they're going to die. And if the positives are on the right side, they're going to die. So generally speaking, positives cross across the front and negatives cross across the back. So let's say if Thaddeus was the boss right here in the middle, you see everybody from the green marker going like this around the well, and you see everybody from the purple marker being the negative charges going like this. And then it would be the reverse and preliminary shift again, like this for the negatives, and then the positives will still always cross across the front. That's how you keep them from ever crossing. So there's like a whole bunch of other mechanics and stuff like that in World of Warcraft. Everything in World of Warcraft is customizable. One of the biggest complaints that I've heard about people in World of Warcraft is like, oh, I don't like the moving. Well, that's like completely changeable. Everybody moves differently. Some people like using the WASD keys to move, which is also really useful for healing. I personally like clicking the moving. So what I do is I guess I can lift my mouse up here in the air. I put it towards the camera. I take pretty much both of these buttons and I click on them at the same time, and I point and aim in the direction I want to go. And then auto walk is defaulted to numlock, but I moved my auto walk to a key that's closer to the left hand side of my keyboard with the rest of my keybinds, so I can then use auto walk to move around. And then I have my strafe keys set to Q and E, and I pretty much only keep my strafe keys. And sometimes auto walk is a little bit silly about stopping, so I only keep my S key, my back key, for that. In general, it's really bad to backpedal on this game because it reduces your movement speed by 50%. You always want to move forward or strafe. So what you want to do is you want to usually right click on your mouse and practice strafing when you first start on this game, because regardless of how you play, strafing's important. So you need to do that first. So for example, you can like just pick a spot. I'll use this marker that's already down, and then just right click and practice strafing around it, pretty much like this. You just want to get used to strafing around it. You know, get comfortable with the movement on this game. I use no auto adjust camera. A lot of other people do this as well, where they use no auto adjust camera. It's also very useful to be zoomed out as much as you can in this game, because in a raid fight there's going to be a lot going on your screen. I mean, you're going to have like a big huge giant boss like in front of your face. There's going to be minions here that you're going to have to deal with. There's going to be minions on the other side that you're going to have to deal with. There's going to be all different kinds of stuff falling from the sky. There's probably going to be some things that you're going to have to interrupt and stop them from casting, otherwise they'll one-shot everybody. So you need to have a very good field of view of everything going on around you. So a lot of people play no auto adjust, max zoom, as possible that they can get on this game. Which I think I actually have mine set a little bit less right now because I was PvPing, and PvPing you play a tiny bit closer, so you can kind of see like little tiny things. But yeah, so once you get used to that, it will help a great deal on what you're like trying to do. And then again, right now, like all I'm doing is right clicking and strafing. Like that's it, you know. Like I'm able to, like right now, for example, Alt W is what I just hit, and I'm still moving while doing all this. Alt W, and I hit my spells and dropping them. I was hitting 2. I hit T right there, which is my absorb. Z is Cone of Cold. This is Blink, which is Alt D. Which that blinked me really far, which is weird. But yeah, it usually doesn't blink you that far. I think it's because I skipped over the stairs. But yeah. So yeah, you just got to get used to moving. The other thing is that, let me show you moving forward, for example, and then let me show you moving back. This is why you never ever backpedal. Look at that movement speed reduction. So you always try your best to strafe out of something. Always try your best to strafe out of something. You know, like for example, this hunter's behind me, boom. Literally 2 seconds. This hunter's behind me, like 1, 2. This hunter's behind me, 1, 2. Like, you see that? Like, it's just way slower. Like, he's, look at that. You know, you can just see it, like. So you just want to try and move as quickly as possible in this game. So there's that. The other thing is, if you'll toss a heal on me, love. That's stuff that happens to you. This will pop across your screen. So pretty much this is anything that's happening to you will pop across your screen. That's self-healing. That's damage that you'll take if somebody is trying to do damage, like is killing you pretty much. You'll see all this across your screen. I have some extra add-ons here to help me track my health, which you can also unlock it's defaultively up here in the corner. But you can unlock your health bars and bring them down here if you're more comfortable with that. And you could do it for your targeting bar as well. So you can drag down your targeting bar, and you can have it down here, and then you can relock it. So this is whatever this is myself. This is pretty much just myself right here. And then this is whatever I'm targeting. So right now I'm targeting myself. Right now I'm targeting my girlfriend, Ukulele. Right now I'm targeting this guy on his awesome... Is that the Shaman class mount? Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so jealous. They throw me this tiny disc that changes with my spec. You get a Jade Tiger. He gets like this awesome thing. The Druids get a bird form that people can ride them in finally. And I get this tiny little disc that doesn't even look that great. I mean, the greatest feature about it is it changes with my spec. Oh my god, that's beautiful. I'm sorry, I'm just like, yeah, back to the guide. Anyways, going on.
It changes depending on your spec.
I bet it does. I bet it uses enhancement just by looking at it. I bet you that thing changes to like water or something like that. It's surging, right? If you go to like restoration. Yeah. Anyways, going on is that right now this is a cast bar. It goes like this. I'll show you what it looks like, I guess, without add-ons. Let me disable my add-on for this. Let me disable all add-ons for just the point of the video. Okay, so this is how a cast bar will look. It will show up across the screen like that. It tells you how long you have to the cast. All yellow cast will be can be interruptible. There are certain things that certain classes can do to get a gray cast, and that means that if somebody tries to interrupt you in PvP, you won't get interrupted. There are instant casts, and instant casts, for example, are not interruptible, as you can see. But general cast are. Or like, you know, the Blizzard. So if somebody interrupts you while you're casting that, it will kick out your whole entire Frost School, so like, or whatever school you're casting. So for example, that's Blizzard. so I'm casting Frost. So if somebody interrupts me, I can't cast any Frost spells, which sucks as a Frost mage, because like that's pretty much everything I have, except Sheep. So yeah, and Blink. So I pretty much that in my Blink, are my Sheep. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, no, I can't cast any Frost spells. No, that's not good for anybody. That's not good for me. That's good for whoever's attacking me. So yeah, what you can do to counter that is there's something called fake casting, where you kind of just have to fill it out with somebody, and then you interrupt it yourself, and then try and get them to waste their kick, so they can't interrupt you, because their interrupts are on a cooldown. Some classes have multiple interrupts, but their interrupts are on a cooldown. I can go over GCDs. So whenever you start a cast on World of Warcraft, you have something called a global cooldown. And what a global cooldown is pretty much a delay that's put into the game before you can cast your next ability or spell. Now, sun spells don't have a global cooldown. They're usually crowd control spells. A lot of melee spells don't have a global cooldown, but a lot of their damaging abilities do, just not their crowd controls. So that way they can apply a slow and still do damage without having to worry about the global cooldown of slowing something, because they have to actually get to their target, while range can do damage with not having to be at their target, which is why range have to cast a lot, but range also get a lot of instant casts. But yeah, so it's just balancing things. So long story short is that every single spell in the game has a global cooldown. Global cooldowns can be a little bit longer. There's a stat in the game called haste, and haste increases your casting speed as well as reduces your global cooldown. And your global cooldown can only be dropped down to a maximum of 1 second, which mine is pretty much at that. So your global cooldown can't be reduced below 1 second, regardless of how much haste you have. It won't matter. So it's just game mechanic. It won't get reduced below 1 second. So yeah, pretty much mostly everybody at level cap has 1 second global cooldowns. Mostly everybody's gonna have 1 second global cooldowns, regardless of what you're playing at level cap, to be honest. But that being said, because I will have it's not a lot of haste to get to that point for global cooldowns. That being said, is as soon as you cast the ability, a global cooldown starts. So if you have an ability of a cast timer that's longer than a second, or even exactly a second on the dot, then you can cast that ability, and your global cooldown will be available for the next cast afterwards. So for example, if I try to cast Nova and then I'm spamming 2 again, and there is a delay. I was literally spamming 2, and you saw the delays between my Frost Novas. Cone of Cold is another instant cast, but I'll just wait for it to come back up again. I mean, Frost Nova to come back up again. I guess I can show you. There's a delay. But watch my Blizzard cast timer and then my Cone of Cold immediately afterwards. You saw that? That's because the GCD started with the Blizzard cast timer, as opposed to starting with the Frost Nova. So the reason why I can't do 2 Frost Novas really quickly is because it's an instant cast, and I have to wait 1 second before casting the next instant cast. But as soon as I start a cast, that 1 second global cooldown's already happening, and then boom, I can Frost Nova right after that Blizzard. But if you try and do 2 instant casts right on top of each other, you have to wait 1 second. So that's how global cooldowns work on this game. The other thing to go into is that there's all these different stats. Every single class has a different primary stat. If you played League of Legends or Heroes of New Worth or Dota All-Stars or Dota 2 or Warcraft 3 or Diablo 3, you're probably familiar with this, where there's attack damage carries in League of Legends, and there's I forget what it's called, it's ability power ones or whatever. They follow a different traditional system. So the same thing is true where there's strength damage dealers, there's intellect ability based supports and damage dealers, and then there's agility. So agility pretty much means attack speed type, where they're meant to attack really quickly. Intellect means caster, just straight out caster. Strength means that they don't attack as quickly as agility people, but they hit harder. That's literally what it means. So if you're every single class has 3 different specializations depending on what class you're playing, except for 2. Demon hunters only have 2, and druids have 4. And there are 3 roles in this game, 2 different ways to do them. So 2 different ways to do one of them. I'm sorry. Uh, so there's damage dealer, which pretty much it's your job to do as much damage as possible in PvP or PvE, because you have a set amount of time to kill a boss. Otherwise, it will automatically enrage and one-shot everybody if you don't beat it within its timer. Or you might get overwhelmed by minions, and then the minions will just become uncontrollable, and then they'll kill you. Minions are called ads in this game. The ones that you deal with during a boss encounter are referred to as ads. The ones that you clear on the way to a boss encounter is just called trash. Like, it's just trash. People just call it that. But minions, in other words, that go along with the boss. So you can get overwhelmed by them because the boss will slowly add more and more in throughout the boss fight. And if you get overwhelmed by ads, that means that your damage is low and they're not killing the ads quickly enough before the next set come out. And I mean, that also might mean that you'll never get enough uptime on the boss to actually get the boss down because you're spending too much time killing ads that need to die. So that's damage dealer's job. The healer's job is to pretty much keep the tanks alive. I guess I should go over tank first. Tank. So the tank's job is to pretty much control the chaos in a fight, to make it so there's as little chaos as possible. So the tank's job is pretty much to hold aggro to the ads, or to hold aggro to the boss, or both. You know, and to try and position the ads and the boss in a way that it's not harmful to the rest of the raid. Because sometimes the ads will have stuff that's dropped at their feet, and the melee can't damage the minions. I mean, the ads or the boss if they're in lava. So the tank has to then move the ads and the boss out of the lava pools on the ground, or cave-ins. Like sometimes the ceilings will cave in at a direct spot. So the tank has to then move the ads and the boss out of the cave-ins or out of the lava pools or whatever the heck it's in, and then the melee could damage it at that point. So otherwise they won't be able to do damage to it because they can't stand in something that's killing them. And healer's job is pretty much to heal the tanks through the damage that they're going to take, because tanks have stats in the game that make it so they can mitigate damage. Because if any other role in the game gets hit by a boss, they're either going to get one shot or close to it. Tanks are the only ones that can hold aggro to a whole bunch of ads and a boss. Nobody else in the game can do that. And the healer's job is to heal the tanks through the passive damage that they're mitigating by taking auto attacks or ability hits from those minions and the boss. And the healer's other job is that sometimes throughout the fight, the bosses have certain abilities that are unavoidable. So a boss might summon a volcano, and then it will start spewing lava everywhere within a certain radius of that volcano. That's avoidable, and sometimes people are stupid and get hit by it because they're not paying attention, and the healer is going to heal that person, obviously, unless that person died really quickly, then that's their own fault. And then, with the thing with the cave-in, where again that's avoidable, the melee just move out of it until the tank moves the stuff, so then they can go back and hit it. But there's certain things that are unavoidable. Like the boss might do a consistent pulsing AoE that's going to hit everything in the whole entire room, and healers have to heal that. Or they might put a debuff on somebody that's burning one person in your raid group up, and it's going to burn them up for 4 seconds, where they're just taking a whole bunch of fire damage because they're just stuck in this flame that the boss put them in, and the healer is going to have to heal that. Healers also have the most spells in the game, so there's some stuff, again, like that flame thing, that might be dispellable. So you don't even have to worry about healing it that much. You can just put a quick heal on a person, dispel it, take it off, bye. You don't have to worry about it for the rest of the fight. But there are some buffs that are very dangerous to dispel, so you got to make sure you know what you're doing when you're doing that. So that being said, pretty much all healers use intellect, regardless of which character you're playing all healers use intellect. All caster DPS use intellect. Now, where it gets weird is not all tanks use strength, and not all tanks use like agility. Some use strength, some use agility, and it's the same thing with damage dealers. Not all damage dealers use intellect. Some use strength, some use agility. So it just depends on what your primary stat is. That increases your overall damage output pretty much, and like it'll be on every single piece of gear once you get to a certain level. So like for example, I have intellect on every piece of gear. Like it's just a given. It's going to be on every single piece of gear. It's just given. Except shirts and tabards. That's not important. But like intellect's going to be on every single piece of gear. See, it's cut off by my picture there a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be on every single piece of the gear. Unless it's off pieces. Actually, off pieces or don't. Now, stamina increases your health. So like generally speaking, the older given rule of thumb is minus all the stamina increases you can get just by playing your character. Like a lot of classes have health increase stuff, but pretty much 10 stamina equals 100 health. So for every single 1 point of stamina, you get 10 health. So stamina is also on every single piece of gear once you get to a certain point. It's just a straight up base stat. Same thing with armor. Armor is on every single piece of gear once you get to a certain point. It's just a straight up base stat. Now their secondary stats, critical strike is your chance to do double damage or double healing. Haste, again, helps bring down your global cooldown to the 1 second maximum that it could be at. Can't be below that. And it also increases your cast timer. Decreases your cast timer. So Blizzard would be a longer cast in this if I didn't have 20 haste. I can actually, let me see if I can make myself naked to show you. I don't have a naked set saved anymore. Let me just take off all this stuff. You can save gear sets here on the side as well. I guess I should have pointed that out. But yeah, I'm just getting naked. Still have some pants on. Gotta take that off. Oh yeah, look at that troll thong. But yeah.
Mm.
You like that troll thong? Look at that. This thing can't handle it. Shaking that thing. Like, I don't know. Anyways, yeah. See how long the blizzard is now. You saw how much longer it took to cast that. I'll cast it again here. And then again, look at the global cooldowns spacing. It's still 1 second. I think it's because my level. But yeah, look at that blizzard. You see that? There's also add-ons that track how quick your cast time is and stuff like that. And then again, I'll show you my blizzard as well. Oh, another thing is that certain abilities that have cooldowns and stuff like that, you can actually have your cooldown reduced more. It doesn't work with all abilities. But some abilities have reduced cooldown, like Blizzard. After I cast it, it goes on cooldown for 30, like was it 6 seconds, and I can't cast it. Thing again. Same thing with Cold to Cold, where it goes on cooldown and I can't cast it again for 12 seconds. You can actually have your cooldowns reduced by the amount of haste that you have as well. So some abilities have reduced cooldowns by the amount of haste that you have as well. Mastery is different depending on which spec you're playing. So, displaying what a spec is, you have a talent tree that you'll unlock at level 10, and it pretty much has different roles. But for certain classes, like that are pure damage dealers, they have all pure damage roles. So, for example, I have Frost Mage, which is frost damage. I have Fire Mage, which is fire damage, and I have Arcane, which is like arcane damage. I don't know if anybody knows what arcane damage is, but think like freezer coolant or like car coolant kind of thing. Like, it's not like completely shadow dark damage like Rumpelstiltskin from Once Upon a Time, but like, I don't really think that there's a good current game to explain. Like, good current, like, mainstream reference to explain arcane damage. If you're familiar with it, you know how it is. Otherwise, like, I don't really know how to explain it to you. But yeah, so yeah, those are just 3 damage specs. So depending on which spec you are, you're gonna have different mastery. And for Frost, it pretty much says when you deal damage, when you damage enemies with Frostbolt, 46% of the damage done is stored in an icicle for 1 minute. Also increases the damage of your done by your water elemental by 46%. By 46%, because my mastery is 46%. So whatever percentage of my mastery is, that's how it's going to increase the damage done by. Casting the ice lance causes the icicles stored to begin launching at a target. Up to 5 icicles can be stored. Excessive icicles will be automatically launched. So let me go ahead and show you that. Here's my water elemental right here. And I'm going to go show you in front of a target dummy what I'm talking about. And again, with fire, and even if you're playing a different spec, like a different class altogether, it's, you know, it's going to change what your mastery is. But yeah, pretty much there's a lot of classes in this game, and every single class roughly has three specs, specializations that they can spec and that they can choose to go into. So I cast Frostbolt, and you see that I have 2 ice lances above my head. I cast Ice Bolt again, and puts 2 more ice lances icicles above my head. I cast it again, and it puts a 5th one above my head and automatically casts the other one. And this ability is called Ice Lance. It's an instant cast. It does a lot of damage for frost mages. And I cast that, and it fires off all the icicles for a set amount of damage, plus whatever my intellect and my mastery is comboed into it. Versatility is another good stat. It's really good for PvP. It's also just good in general for certain classes. You're going to want to stat certain ways, or depending on how you're building your character. And pretty much what versatility does is whatever percentage your versatility is, that's going to increase your damage and healing output by that amount. So like for example, I have 8% versatility right now. That means that I do passively 8% bonus damage and 8% bonus healing to myself and others if I have healing abilities to use on myself and others. Now whatever percentage your versatility is, you cut that in half, and that's a damage reduction. So that's 4% damage reduction. So if I hover over that, it says increases damage and healing done by 8.13% and decreases damage taken by 4.07%. Literally like what it says. Avoidance is like usually a tank stat. I got it on here just because I got it on here. It literally says reduces damage taken from area of effect attacks. I don't know what's up with that, but tanks actually have better ones than that, you know. It just got random onto one of my pieces of gear. I also got speed. Speed increases your movement speed. You can actually have your movement speed increase up to a certain percent. This is item level. As you level up, you'll gain better gear, and when you get to max level, you stop leveling and you start leveling your gear. So you'll go into raids, and there's different raids. So one of the things that I've also heard that's turned people off of World of Warcraft, and I've played games like, I've been playing computer games and console games since I was 2 years old. I'm like going to be turning 29 in August. So, and I played a lot. Like, I'm not limited. There's an older application called Xfire. It's really hard to explain. It's like a gamer's MSN, and it tracked how many hours you played on each game and stuff like that, and all different types of games that you played, and etc. and stuff like that. But I think at one point before Xfire went down, I think the closest thing to it at this point, Steam. I had over 4,000 games played, and that's just when I had the thing running. Sometimes I didn't have the thing running, and you also got to take into account Xfire's existence and how long Xfire has been out of business. So I played a lot of games, and there were games that at the time and before World of Warcraft's existence, but at the time were better than WoW and had potential to be better than where WoW is at now. One I would say is Star Wars Galaxies, and that just suffered from horrible patching. But like, I played Blade and Soul, I played Perfect World, I played Neverwinter Online, I played Rift, I played a little bit of Aeon. My first MMO I ever played was Lineage: The Blood Pledge. I played Lineage 2. Like, you name it, I played it. I played Guild Wars 1, I've tried Guild Wars 2, I played Elder Scroll Online, I played literally like everything. I have over, 3,000 games played on the PC alone, not even touching the console. And like, I can tell you that You know, I played Dragon Ball Online. It didn't even make it into the United States. I played Dragon Ball Online. I played games that are just not even in English. Like, so yeah, I just learned how to play them and just figured it out. So, but yeah, I can tell you out of all the games that I played, right now, this is the best MMO, especially fantasy MMO. This is the best MMO. It's the best MMO for three reasons. One, the classes are lots of fun to play, even though it takes a while to level and get into them. Two, there's also rotations and stuff like that and situational ability using, so it does have a very large learning curve to it, but once you get it, it's wonderful. It's like absolutely wonderful. Two, awesome PvP content, just like endless like in-game content in general. I mean, like endless in-game content in general. I'll go over all the in-game content because otherwise I'd be like blah 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 all my fingers. But yeah, endless like wonderful in-game content. Three, really great story. Like you actually feel engaged with the story when you go in to kill the bosses. Like you want to kill them. You want revenge for what they did to the story that you're enmeshed in when you're playing this game. So that being said, the second one of the main reasons to play this game, if you're like a story PvE boss killing kind of person, is the raids. And again, one of the biggest complaints I've heard from people who play World of Warcraft is people told me that World of Warcraft is awesome and that the raids are so difficult and challenging, but when I get into the raids, they're so easy and I don't understand. Now, to explain that to you is that they're not doing progressional raids, is what's going on. So there's a lot of expansions to World of Warcraft, and they reduce the cost a lot so newer players can get into them. So it's not like you have to buy all the individual expansions. There's like a thing called a collection bundle, which includes all the expansions except the latest one, and you always just buy the latest expansion. Like literally, if you go down to the store and you pick up a copy of Classic WoW for like $5-10 or something like that, you can just actually use that and then add the latest expansion. It will automatically activate because it takes that Classic WoW key as a universal expansion key. So like it's not like you're gonna miss out on anything in between. Like we're on some, like I know that there's like other MMOs like EverQuest 2 had that issue where EverQuest 2 had expansions like this long, and then you would sit there and be like, okay, so your people would say like, you need to get this one first, then this one, 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 and you miss like any of the ones in the middle. You're all like, oh crap, why can't I go past this point when I have this, 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 this? And people are like, oh, you're missing this and this in between. World of Warcraft doesn't have that issue. Like, you can go buy literally any copy of, like, any of the older expansions from the store and then just activate it on your account and just buy the latest one and you're good to go. You'll have everything from start to finish. Also, like, there's really no need to do that. They have it all available online as well, so you can do that. But that being said, is a lot of people, they do raids from the older expansions, and the raids from the older expansions were intentionally dumbed down to the point that one person can do it so they can go back and get the older gear. You need to do the raids from the current expansion in order to experience that difficulty, and even at that point there's multiple raid difficulties. The easiest one is called Looking for Raid Finder, and veteran players literally call it Looking for Retards, because you can literally just walk in there and it's, I mean, maybe when it first comes out, it gives you somewhat of an idea of how the raid's going to be, but realistically speaking, you're not going to learn anything from LFR because you can mess up on everything and still get it down. And if you die, your whole entire group dies, you actually get a buff in LFR that buffs all your guys' stats by, what is it, like 5-10%? It's called like Luck of the Draw or something like that, right, hon? I think it's like 5 or 10%. So, and if you guys die again, it will stack up to a maximum 3 times. So that's either a 30% damage and healing and stamina and health increase, or 30%. So it's literally 30% damage, healing, and damage reduction increase, or a 15% damage, healing, and damage reduction increase if you guys die 3 times, for a place that really doesn't even show you the full effect of those mechanics if all the mechanics are enabled to begin with in the first place. After that, you have normal, which normal is going to have all the mechanics for the most part, but they're going to hit definitely way harder than LFR, Looking for Raid, but it's not going to hit that bad, and it might be difficult for newer players to get it down, but players who played a while or have pretty good hands-on experience with the game, it's not going to be that big of a deal for them. They'll probably get normal down in like the first day or two. And then there's heroic, which heroic is going to be a lot more difficult and stuff's going to hit really hard. And on top of that, you might even have additional mechanics. And then there's mythic, where you're definitely going to have additional mechanics. You're not going to be able to take in as many people, and it's going to be way harder and to get down. Like mythic's the hardest as you can get down. And the dungeons work the similar system, where the older dungeons are not meant to be soloed by older people, but you can out-level them. So like, for example, there's like level 20 dungeons, there's level 30 dungeons, there's level 50 dungeons. So if you're level 60 and you're going to go back and do a level 30 dungeon, well, no crap, that's going to be easy. But there's if you don't like going out questing in the world, if questing really bores you, if that's something you really hate to do, you can actually level in this game by doing dungeons, and it's a way more efficient to level in this game by doing dungeons, so a lot of veteran players will level just by doing the dungeons, and you can do that as soon as you get level 15. You can also level in this game by doing battlegrounds, but you should wait until you get the random battleground option. So you can literally level in this game just by PvPing, by going out there and playing capture the flag and killing people and having a good time. So you don't have to quest if that's not something that you want to. You kind of have to up to level 15, but after that you can just do whatever you want. Yeah, so that being said, there's normal dungeon difficulty for just talking about max level dungeons. There's normal dungeon difficulty, which is really easy, like really dirt easy. And then there's heroic level of dungeon difficulty, which is again really easy. I mean, when it first comes out, it might be a tiny bit difficult, but that's only because your gear is lowered in a dungeon. Then it's not really that bad. And then there's mythic dungeon difficulty, and we know it can go up to mythic plus 15. We don't know if it can go past that, but pretty much you have mythic keystones that you can level. So there's mythic, and there's like mythic 2, mythic 3, mythic 4, mythic 5, etc., 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 at least up to 15. We haven't found out if there's anything past 15 yet. I think there might be, but we're not sure. The highest we got is like 14, right? Before somebody blew up our key, like a douchebag, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we've never actually had a chance to see if there's anything beyond 15. But yeah, so dungeons are 5 people. Raids can be LFR is 25 people. Dungeons are 5 people. Raids can be so looking for raid. I'm sorry, I should say is anywhere is 25 people. Normal can be anywhere between 10 and 25 people. Heroic can be anywhere between 10 and 25 people, and mythic is 20 people. Typically speaking, in a dungeon, I mean always in a dungeon, you run 1 tank, 3 healers, 1 healer. 3 DPS, 1 healer. So 1 tank, 1 healer, 3 damage dealers. DPS means damage per second, HPS means heals per second. But yeah, so you run one tank, 1 healer, 3 DPS. In a raid, it kind of depends on your setup, but in LFR, generally speaking, it's going to automatically pick for you, because you kind of queue into it, like you would queue randomly with people and stuff like that, and you get thrown whatever you get thrown. Blizzard determines that for you. But raids will always generally throw you 2 tanks, 5 healers, and 20 damage dealers, DPS. We just call them DPS because it's shorter. In a raid, it depends. Generally, a 10-man setup will have 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, depending on if they want more damage, and an 8 to 7 healers. 5. 2 tanks, 2 to 3 healers, and then that means that you have 4 to 5 DPS damage dealers. Lately, the more recent setup is 2 tanks, 2 healers, 5 damage dealer, 6 damage dealers. 6 damage dealers. But 2 tanks, 3 healers, 5 damage dealers is more traditional and classic setup, and it's a lot safer. So a lot of people still run that. Pretty much you have to have great faith in your healers to only rely on 2. So yeah, it's more or less for the veteran player. It's more or less so for the veteran players. If you have 14 people, what they'll typically do is they'll run 3 healers, definitely guaranteed. 4 is a little bit too much at that point. Run 2 tanks, and then have the remaining 9 people be damage dealers. And then that can just vary anywhere between 20 people. Generally speaking, you don't have more than 4 healers if you have 20 people, between 15 and 20 people. You don't you can have 5 healers if you have over 20 people. Um and that just holds true with normal, heroic, etc. So that's like that, I guess. That's pretty much that. So the raids, like again, going back to the item level thing, I'm 905 item level. And my girlfriend and I haven't really done Tomb of Sargeras yet, mostly because of me not wanting to do it for story reasons, because I'm an original Warcraft player and this guy's not a bad guy to me. But yeah. Well, he's not even in here, is he? Do you see him on there? Maybe you don't kill Sargeras. Kill Sargeras there. Maybe it's just his tomb. Interesting. So I guess maybe we might end up doing it. But yeah, the last raid we did was the Nighthold. And as you can see, there's multiple difficulties. Where, like, right now it's on the heroic looking. But there's normal, which drops 875, roughly speaking. And then heroic drops 890. And then mythic drops 905. So pretty much we're mythic item level geared. And mythic raids are really hard to get into Groots for, because it's 20 people and it's usually set, so it's usually a whole entire guild. And our guild is trying to do mythic 20, but they're not. Most of the guild isn't geared to that point yet. And like it's hard to find a time because you can only have those 20 people. You can't replace them. And like Mythic's the only one that's like that. Like if you lose people in LFR, if you lose people in normal, if you lose people in heroic, you can just pick up other people and go on in. And go on with your merry day. But Mythic, it's not like that. If you lose somebody in Mythic, you can't add anybody else. So like, let's say if you guys lose 2 people in a Mythic raid who decide to leave early or not show up the next raid day, then that means that your raid has to go on with 18 people. So that's 2 people down. You can't do anything about that on Mythic raid. And Mythic dungeons have a similar system. But Mythic dungeons can get pretty difficult. They're like a 5-man raid themselves. So with how difficult they get, to the point that they even drop the same item level as raid gear, if not higher than raid gear item level. So that's why we're 905, because we've been doing a lot of mythic dungeons and we've been doing a lot of raids. And the raids can sometimes bonus roll. It's called Warforged and Titan Forged, and pretty much like it can get like Super Titan Forged and stuff like that. I forget what it's called, but like long story short, it means that sometimes you can get your item level to bonus roll higher. Sometimes 5, sometimes 10, sometimes 15, sometimes 20 item levels higher than the actual piece. So you can have an 890 piece drop and have it be 905 if you're lucky. So just because it says that in this raid here, the Nighthold, that Gul'dan, if you've seen the Warcraft movie, drops 895 boots, it doesn't mean that those boots are guaranteed to drop 895. It means that they're guaranteed to drop 895 or more. They won't drop lower than 895 if they do drop for you. It's not like it's going to drop 894. That's not going to happen. Or it's not going to drop 890, because it says right here that Gul'dan will drop 895 plus for that boot. And same thing with these pants here that he drops, where he's going to drop 890 plus for those pants. In the living core here, that's amounts, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. So that pretty much is just the case for all that stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much that. There's pet abilities. If you want to change your movements and stuff like that, you can go into, if you want to change your graphics, you go into system. You can change your graphics, you can change your viewing distance, you can change all this. There's there's advanced graphical settings, so like gamma in comparisons if you want to match your desktop gamma instead. Render scale, show new character models, you can check that off. It's defaults to show new character models. If you don't want it checked off, it'll show the older character models because the newer ones are a little bit more graphical. Maybe you have a very old computer. Multi-alpha sampling, see like all different kinds of AA options, even CMAA. Biblical, or I mean, bicubical, binary choosing, like all that different kinds of stuff. Player NPC interactions, it pretty much means you'll see like effects on players, and NPCs are player only, you know. Frame limiter option, network optimization options and language options and even sound options. You can like mute and toggle on sound and stuff like that. One thing that's nice to know about all Blizzard games, and I literally mean all Blizzard games from like, not all, I guess not before StarCraft 1 and Diablo 1. So like Master Chess, this isn't an option. But in StarCraft 1, Diablo 1, Diablo 2, I don't know about Warcraft 1. That's an old DOS game and I haven't really had too much experience playing Warcraft 1. But Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, Diablo 3, World of Warcraft, every single expansion, Overwatch, for those Overwatch players who probably don't know this because they haven't played a lot of Blizzard games. Heroes of the Storm, and also Blizzard knockoffs. I think this is even possible in League of Legends. I might be wrong. In other words, games that extended from Blizzard games. So like for example, Dota All-Stars was a custom map created on Warcraft 3. It was so popular that, you know, individual client-side versions of the game extended. So like League of Legends, Heroes of New Earth, Dota 2, Strife, Paragon. What's the other 3D one that was also lots of fun to play besides Paragon? Smite. A lot of them have this feature involved as well, where if you hold down Control on your keyboard and you hit S, it will enable sound. So you hear all my casts going off. If you hit it again, it will disable sound. So you can't hear it. And it even shows it across the screen. Same thing goes with the music. If you hit Control and M, it will enable music. You hit Control M again, it will disable the music. So yeah, I have pretty much and like my sound is disabled for the purpose of the video. And again, like people might like have like really loud mounts and stuff, so you can adjust the master volume overall. And then different sound options here. There's like music, ambience, dialogue for voices of the NPC and quest lore and stuff like that. One thing I will say about this game is the earlier questing does suck. But as you get up to the higher levels, the questing's really nice and you get enmeshed in the story and stuff like that. And you even like have really, you know, epic cinematics that are going to make you cry and, you know, just like, you know, awesomeness, you know. So like they tie into the trailer and into the introductions for the game. You actually fight alongside a lot of the main characters in the story, you know. So it's crazy, but it's actually kind of realistic in comparison to like a lot of other MMOs, because one of the things I do like about World of Warcraft is that, and they do keep it interesting even for a lower level. Like for example, one of the reasons I'm making this video is because a friend of mine is about to join is trying to get into World of Warcraft, and he wanted me to make like an interface guide and like generally an overall everything World of Warcraft guide. But pretty much, I might end up redoing this just to do a quick like interface overall thing. But pretty much, if you start out, when you start out on a lower character, it gives you realistic stuff. Like on a lot of other MMOs, and I love Blade and Soul. Blade and Soul is lots of fun and it was a really good story to play through and stuff like that. But on a lot of other MMOs, they make your character so important. From the moment that you create your character, you're so important. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Like, I'm level 1. I don't even have gear yet. I hardly know how to move. But yet, I'm so important. And in World of Warcraft, that's not the case. Like, you go out, you go grab some meat for your major city because the cooks there need to feed people. You go out, you go chop down some lumber because you need lumber to help fuel your city and stuff like that. You go out as you get on, and like maybe your main area needs help with local defenses. And then as you're going on and on and on and stuff like that, then you start fighting alongside main characters in the story, helping them defeat bosses, and then greater and greater and greater threats as that happens. You don't sit there with this big, huge, giant badass at the, you know, pardon my French, as soon as you create your character saying, oh, you I'm going to kill you, and then you get knocked out, and you come through, and you're like, I'm level 1. How did I survive that guy? Like, you know, I will train hard to beat him. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. You gradually work your way up through the story. You don't sit there knowing who the big bad voodoo is from start to finish and saying, that guy knows who I am. I'm a threat to him. But he's not doing anything about me whatsoever as I'm sitting here gaining strength. You know, so yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. So I would say that's one of the best things I like about WoW as well. But in a nutshell, that's pretty much like everything. There's little things here and there. Like if you go into controls, you can check off auto loot. And auto loots. Here it is. You can go into combat, and you can have scrolling combat text on self. So like for example, when I was getting healed by my girlfriend, or when I picked up that absorb for 1 million on myself, that's because I see scrolling combat text on myself. If you uncheck that, it will make it so you won't have the floating text for yourself. You can also have an option here to have it for target of target. A target of target. So literally what that means is like right now it's not showing it because I'm targeting myself. I think I can show it on the water elemental. Let me go ahead or see if there's other people here doing damage. Okay, so here's an arcane mage, and you can see them casting arcane blast into the target dummy, and then pretty soon it's another good example because it's a goblin arcane mage. So you see that arcane barrage, so you get to see kind of how arcane looks. I'll turn on the sound so you can hear it as well. It sounds nice. It sounds like freezer burn. You hear that? As they're dumping missiles. But again, I'm targeted on this goblin arcane mage, and then they're targeted on the great bulwark target dummy. So I can see what they're looking at simply by clicking on them. That's target of target. It's really nice. So there's also other settings throughout the options like floating combat text, and that's what you see there above, like, you know what I'm doing. So I can see my floating combat text. And then the proc that went across my screen, it'll be different depending on which class you're playing. But pretty much everybody has certain little buffs that they see go across the screen and stuff like that. So that one's pretty much saying I get a free instant flurry, which is one of my abilities. That these ones are saying my ice lances are doing bonus damage, and I can have that stacking up to 3 times, which is why you saw 2. And when I used one, it still had 2 on the side, and when I used the other one, it went down to the 1. So like there's just all different kinds of things in this game. There are some things that have like lots of cooldowns, like long cooldowns. Like I just popped a 3-minute cooldown, but notice how much it's increasing my haste. So how quickly I can cast, because I popped a 3-minute cooldown. So some spells have like just really long cooldowns, but they do a lot. And other ones have really short cooldowns and might not do as much. So yeah, there's that. Going into interface here again, that's like, so you have all that. Don't flash screen when low health. So your screen will flash and turn all red when you're low health. And stop my water elemental from attacking. Oh my god, you go over there in a corner now. It keeps on trying to attack you, no one telling it to stop because it's in range of the target. It's trying to attack. But yeah, there's all different kinds of questing options. Tutorial, you can check it off if you want some more tips than other what I'm giving you. There's social options you can check off. Real ID, which is I don't know if you play other Blizzard games, you'll see that, but you can kind of see your friends across networks, enable Twitter stuff. There's even a selfie cam where you can take, like in this game, where you can literally use a selfie camera. It's an item in the game. Just pose, take a picture, and then like post it up on Twitter or Facebook. These are action bars, so defaultively, all you'll have just this. When you get into the game, it will look like this, minus the pet bar. Let me dismiss my pet, because that's like kind of weird. I don't know why I did that. Yeah, literally your bars will kind of look something like this when you first get in the game. If you want more action bars, you can enable them. And there's also side action bars as well. I just use those for professions. You can have it so it hides them and stuff like that with certain add-ons. So like it won't show the whole entire bar, it'll only show the ones that abilities are on. There we go. You can show numbers for cooldowns, so it will show how much you have remaining showing up. There's actually an add-on for that as well, so you see that where it's showing how much time I have left until that cooldown comes back up. 42 seconds here. Blizzard 6 seconds, so you can actually have the numbers show. They're kind of small. There's an add-on that displays them bigger. Crap. And then you can go into nameplates and adjust debuffs you see above friendly nameplates, all different kinds of stuff like that. Like, let me go ahead and put up friendly nameplates to show you. So like for example right now, it's showing up a blue nameplate, and this is a friendly target of mine. So they're going to have nameplates showed up. It's Neko, kill Jaden. I can do the same thing for enemy nameplates where I turn them on and off. Sorry, there we go. See, enemy nameplates are showing up. Enemy nameplates show up in red usually. This is just gray because they're target dummies in our class hall. This is like where we train, and it's pretty much our war quarters. This is the camera. Camera never adjusts. Camera is usually what most people have, and I'll show you how that acts. So right now, when I'm turning my camera, it kind of stays, and then stuff like that. And when I'm walking around, I can see behind me, and like all different kinds of angles while I'm walking around. I can see all different kinds of angles, so bada bada blah. And what this pretty much does is, like, right now it's on never adjust. So if I were to change it, I could have it do always adjust camera. So let's see what that's like. So no matter what I'm doing, and it will automatically adjust, readjust. Like if I'm looking away, it will automatically readjust. And when I turn, it automatically turns. Automatically doing everything. Automatically. And then there's another one which is only adjust while moving. So right now I turn behind me. It's not adjusting. I start moving. I adjust. And there's another one which I believe is only horizontal when moving. So see that where it's not adjusting at all, but if I do this where and then adjust center, or if I do this, for example, like this, and I start moving and it adjusts center horizontally only. So there's a whole bunch of different camera options as well as key binding options. There's like mouse look speed as well as camera auto follow speed. So if you want to like adjust like your actual how quickly you're going to turn and stuff like that, that's here. And I don't recommend this, but because this will get you killed. But there's actually a click to move option, which literally is what it sounds like. I really don't recommend it. But pretty much you right click at a destination and it moves you there. It puts a yellow marker where you're going to go and it moves you there. I don't recommend using that. It's not really an effective way of moving. It will get you killed. So yeah. But yeah, just I've met one person in my life that played this game and used that, and like after I started hanging out with them, they stopped using it. Let's just put it that way. Like, yeah. So there's also add-ons and stuff like that for adding a game controller. You can actually play with a controller if you wanted to. These are raid frames. Pretty much I went over them earlier, where you can have it where it displays class colors, or it doesn't display class colors or aggro stuff. You can have it like adjust, show debuffs, etc. All different kinds of stuff like that. I have no idea why it's not showing status text, but it should be showing status text here, and it's not. And that's not supposed to be the case. I have no idea why it's not showing status text. I'll take a look at that later. But oh yeah, display class colors. So default color for everybody who's friendly is green. So you can choose not to display class colors. I find it useful because you can prioritize hills. Well, why was there no status text? Let's see, display. Okay, so here, for example, if okay, you look at my health bar, you'll notice that I have exactly how much health I have, exactly how much mana I have, and in percentages. I'm at 100% health and 100% mana. You have options for that, for whoever you're targeting as well, you see. So you have options for that. You can have it where it's both. You can have it where it's only numerical value for the whole entire bar.
Well met.
You can have it where if you don't like the numerical values, you can have it where it's only percentage. I know some warriors only play percentage, so that way the percentage takes up the whole entire bar. And the reasoning for that is because warriors and certain other classes have abilities that can only be used at 25%, and they're really powerful. So like warriors, for example, have an ability called execute, and if you get executed in PvP, you're more than likely dead. It's like really low chance that you're going to survive an execute. That's pretty much their finisher. So like they want to be able to see you as soon as you hit 25%. And like certain other classes have like certain other abilities that work different ways. Some of them are like 35% bonuses. Other ones are like others. So feral druids, for example, have ferocious bite, and casters have mana, but other classes use rage or energy, and energy pretty much replenishes over time, and you have it 100%, and then you use a whole bunch of abilities, and it's consistently regenerating as you're using abilities. So ferocious bite will do bonus damage if you're over 50% energy when you use it. So feral druids might watch their energy that way by just having the whole entire energy bar percentage, etc., etc., etc. So it really just comes down to preference. I like having both. Also, if you're a healer and you know that one of the tanks is low, both of the tanks are low, and you're sitting there thinking, well, I gotta prioritize which one to heal, and you know one's holding aggro to something that will one-shot it at 35% because maybe that's a mechanic or something like that that's about to come lined up or something, then you know to heal the one that's 35% first, and who's holding aggro to that boss or whatever, that particular situation, you know, because you know he can't be below a certain percent. But yeah, like, it's stuff like that. I'm going to fix the status text on this so I can show you guys how to do that as well, because I don't remember exactly where it is, but it definitely should not be doing that. You can also change how you sort your groups by role, by alphabetical order, by group. So it will show like in the frames that way. Why is it? Is it because of how it is? Like, and then again, the frame width and height, you can adjust it. You can change how it's how you want. Like, it's pretty much just up to you, like how you want to do it. It's all up to you. It's like completely your design, so to speak. Why am I not seeing it? Display incoming hills, display power. It should be showing. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm at 100% because it shows your offline text. So I don't know why it would be doing this, but okay. I'm trying to remember how I even had this originally. I think it was like this or something like that. I don't remember. I can just reset it. Let me just reset position. There we go. There we go. Lock, hide, because I'm a mage. I can't really heal or do anything for anybody. Except in PvP, I might be able to sheep to protect them, which is a crowd control. I have no idea why it's showing up like that. To be honest, it's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to show our health. I'll have to figure that out later. But yeah, like, that's that. I mean, pretty much the only things I haven't covered in game. Jess, can you get back online? Or no? Is add-ons.
Yeah, I can.
Just for a second. Is add-ons. So, add-ons are like make things more useful. So for example, like if you look at my bags right now, I have all these items in my bag. They're like all over the place. Not just that, like I press B to open up all my bags, but like they're all individual different bags. Like, you know, it's like it's just how the game was built. And they added a search option now. Defaultively weird in the original, but oh, that wasn't there before. So Bagnon is a wonderful add-on that helps you manage your bags. It makes it a lot easier. And the search option has been in Bagnon for a very long time, the add-on, which is why I didn't realize Blizzard added their own until now, because I never really used it without it. And you can see like it's easier to find my bags and stuff like that, and I can actually search for items by group. So for example, if I search cloth, it'll show me cloth I can make stuff with, and even cloth items. But if I search do I have any Mel in me? I think I have Mel BOEs. Mel, it will search all the Mel items in my bag. These are BOEs for transmog for other characters once they become high enough to use them. You also have a bank and stuff like that. I'll show you that. Oh, crap. So a few things. If you're inside a city or inside an inn or inside some place that's like a major town, a home or something like that, when you make sure you log off inside them, you'll be able to instantly log out. If you're not inside that, you kind of have to wait to log out, or it'll give you like an exit now option or something like that, as opposed to being able to directly log out or exit your game. The reasoning for that is because you'll get rested experience if you're in a rested area, and rested experience pretty much makes it so you can you can you can get bonus experience. It's like 200% rest, 200% I think experience or something like that, or 100% experience or something like that. So you pretty much get double experience. You get double experience just for logging off, and it can get up to 3 levels arrested. It can get up to 3 levels arrested. So it makes it a little bit easier to level. You know, just a little bit easier to level. Somebody messaged me.
No, it's me.
Oh, okay. The other thing, I'll take a look at it in a bit. The other thing that's nice is
No, it's fine. You don't need to look at it. It's just for me.
Oh, okay. The other
Later.
okay, fair enough. The other thing that's nice is a Hearthstone. So you can set your home to different places, and you can use your Hearthstone to return. Here it is, Hearthstone to return back to your home. And if you played a Hearthstone card game, and you're wondering about that, that's actually where the name came from. Is that pretty much like a Hearthstone has a cooldown that's like 30 minutes or something like that. If you're in a guild, I think a guild has a perk to reduce the Hearthstone to 15 minutes. It does. And it pretty much allows you to return to wherever you have your home set to. So like right now I have my home set to some place over here in Suramar. It's like one of the main areas there. So if I hit this Hearthstone, it will return me to there. But Dalaran is what I'm in right now. It's a major city, and you'll get rested for being in Dalaran as well. So you can choose an inn, or you can choose a major city. But I'm just showing you how the Hearthstone works. So see, now I'm here on the map where I was talking about in Suramar. And then this is where I was in Dalaran. I'm going to teleport back to Dalaran because I'm a mage and I have doors everywhere. I can also make doors for other people. So like any major cities.
Be right back.
Okay. I need you to go to Orgrimmar with me, just because I want to show the diminishing return thing. This is kind of turned into an overall World of Warcraft guide. I didn't want it to do that, but yeah, I'll do an interface one later. But yeah, so pretty much, yeah, this has become an overall World of Warcraft guide at this point. So I guess I could go over the endgame things that you can do. So there's casual PvP, which is the battlegrounds. There's all different kinds of battlegrounds, capture the flag, and they added this new thing called Brawl, where it's like really fun, extravagant battlegrounds, and they're in rotation from week to week, and they last about 5 days, and you have to wait another 5 days for the next one. And it's like, sometimes it's a spin on the maps that already exist, other times it's just completely new stuff. There's arenas, so like, it's really fun to see how all these abilities go into play with capture the flag. So like, for example, there's fall damage in this game, as you can see right now, where I just took the fall damage and stuff like that. So one thing that's really awesome that you can do is, like, mages, for example, have a spell called Slowfall. So you can save people from damage. There's a healer in the game that has Leap of Faith, which is an ability that, it's like pretty much a life grip. It's a friendly grip where you can, like, if, like, let's say if I'm here and then, like, you know, my girlfriend's over there on her Jade Tiger, I can grip her to me to save her. And then on the reciprocal effect, there's a damage dealer in the game, Death Knights, that have Death Grip. So they have pretty much Scorpion, like, get over here, where they can grip you to them aggressively to kill you. So you can be gripped to be saved, or you can be gripped to die. And there's all different other kinds of things to counter it. Like warriors have an ability called heroic leap, which pretty much allows them to leap forward and impact the ground, making an earthquake, doing damage to anything that they impact. And they also have an ability called spell reflect, where if let's say like the Death Knight is standing here and he has his whole entire squad behind him, kind of like about these these orgy people I have behind me, and then he's trying to grip somebody here who has their whole entire squad behind them. The Death Knight can grip that person into control a fight of their area, dragging that person further away from his team. Again, the 40-yard range thing I was talking about, forcing a few of his teammates to push in to help him, or sadly that person's going to get switched to real quickly and die. Or if a warrior is the one that he grips, and the warrior's smart about it, the warrior can pot spell reflect, and if he times it properly, the Death Knight will have his death grip used against him, because warrior's spell reflects reflect any spells, and then the Death Knight will get pulled backwards into the warrior because of the warrior pitting his shield up for spell reflect. And it pretty much reflects a lot of spells or any incoming spells for a short period of time. And it used to only reflect one spell. They changed it. I think it's like a 4-second buff that the warrior can pit up on himself, so it reflects all incoming spells for 4 seconds. But it's like a 30-second cooldown as well, so it's not like they can do it all the time. So yeah, it's just a whole bunch of different kinds of play. Warriors also have two types of charges. They have a charge that they can use on their allies depending on which kind of spec they are, and they have a charge that they can use on enemies. So they can charge to an ally to save themselves, and they can charge to an ally to actually save the ally. I'll get into that a little bit later. And they can charge to an enemy to try and get to that enemy that's trying to get away from them. So pretty much warriors have an ability, it used to be called intercept. I think only protection warriors, which are the tanks with the shield, have it at this point. All warriors, regardless of spec, all have spell reflect, but only protection warriors, the tanks, I think at this point have it. And it's called intercept. So what warriors can do is they can intercept to a friendly target. And what it does is that they rush towards a friendly target real quickly, and then the warrior, I think, does take 50% less damage for 4 seconds after rushing to that target. Now here's where it gets really ridiculous. After they intercept, all the damage that target was supposed to take, they take instead. So they take 50% less damage, and they take all the damage that's directed at that target. So like, let's say if somebody's targeting me and a warrior were to rush and intercept in front of me, he can intercept all that damage for 4 seconds, and it would be a 50% damage reduction. And on top of that, he could pot spell reflect within that 4 seconds, and any spells cast on me will then be cast on him and then reflected back at him. So I've seen it like back in, they've been trying to simplify certain abilities that work that way, and newer players aren't really too affected by it because there's still a great amount of cool abilities like that in the game. Older players are kind of annoyed about it because they're missing out on a lot of great cool abilities that their characters had. But in general, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the game easier for newer players to come in, because this game is like a big, huge, giant information load, So it's really useful to have certain guides and stuff like that to help you out. I'll make an individual class guide for every single class in this game, one video at a time, so that way you can kind of get an idea of how it works and stuff like that for every single class. But that being said, is that they've been pruning a lot of the abilities just pretty much to make less abilities that you have to deal with. It's like, for example, look at my bar right now. Like, look at that. My bar is filled with abilities. Like, some of that is just like a little bit of extra stuff, but like the one I'm hovering over now is my mount. This one here makes food for myself or pits down a table for people so they can eat food. And food regenerates your health and your mana when you're out of combat. Well, drink regenerates your health when you're out of combat. Food regenerates your health when you're out of combat. And the ones that mages put down does both. And in here it's hotkeyed, because in PvP sometimes after you're not being attacked for a bit, you can clear combat real quickly, and then line of sight behind a wall, and you want to eat as quickly as possible to get regen when you can, and you can maybe get back into combat. This is just a music thing that I have here. these are my portals, so this is why I'm not hotkey. Like this is the Power of the Horde theme song. It's a macro that I just have on my bar. This one's another fun macro I just have, where it's a bunch of toys that activate to make me look all cool and shiny. What else? And then this is a set focus macro. So I have 2 polymorphs on my bar, and I'll get into that later when my girlfriend comes back from being AFK for 10 billion years and a half. But pretty much, polymorph, you can set focus to people. So I guess I should went over that. So yeah, this is my focus target now. This is what I'm targeting. So my target is the same as my focus target. Right now I'm targeting my water elemental, and this is my focus target. So you can actually have a set focus target so you can watch another enemy, keep an eye on an enemy that you're versing in arenas maybe, or keep an eye on an ally that you're trying to protect. So a focus target really helps you keep track of that. Let me go ahead and turn off the sound for that. So that will help with that. And mages have an offensive spell, which I'm going to show you soon, Polymorph, and how it works. Welcome back. You ready to go to Ogrimmar so I can show them how Polymorph works?
Sure.
Here's your portal. But yeah,
First I'm gonna take all your food.
Yeah, it's in the table one down. She takes my food. So yeah, polymorph. So you can. This one's a macro because you can make all different kinds of macros in this game. As you can see, this one's specifically set for set focus. So I have one that's just a free poly, which is whatever I'm targeting, and then the other one's a set focus poly. So it's on a different hotkey. So that way, that one will only poly my focus. In other words, it's yeah. So counterspell is kind of the same here. You can even have mouse over, where like if you're a melee and you play more close and stuff like that, warriors have an ability called Stormbolt where they throw it at a target. You can literally have mouse over cast spell as a macro. So you can literally just hover your mouse over whatever the heck you want the spell to go at, and it will go at it. A lot of healers even do that, where they literally make a mouse over macro heal for every single heal. So literally all they gotta do is hover their mouse over whatever they want to heal, and it heals. Same thing with here. You don't actually have to click on the person then use your heal. You can just hover your mouse over that person and he heals away. It saves you an extra action. Some people don't like playing that way. They want to make sure that they know the heal's going on that one. They want to lock it in by clicking on the target. But other people do. So, but yeah, so that's that. This is a cooldown that increases the haste for me and everybody in my party. This is my personal cooldowns. Everybody has like personal 3-4 minute cooldowns. Ooh, somebody's trying to duel me. This is a rogue, right? Yeah, rogue. Okay, so I'm gonna duel this. I'm gonna duel this rogue here, which is Masters of Stealth, and I'm going to see if I can beat him. He also has the ability to be immune for spells for bits. So I'll try and call out. So he sat me, incapacitate. There's diminishing return in this game, so the next staff will last half. See that? 7 for 3.5. Okay, so I'm gonna trinket that because he opened with a cheap shot on me, and then now I think I completely threw him off with the trinket thing, and then now I'm gonna drop. Okay, now he's dumping damage on me, so I'm popping his orbs right now, and I'm gonna ice block. Nope, I didn't ice block in time. Yeah, I didn't ice block in time. What happened to my absorb? It didn't go off. That's weird. He shivved it. So he shivved my absorb in order to prevent it from going off. So yeah, another reason why I didn't cast is because he's a rogue. I wouldn't be able to get any instant cast off. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to get any cast off. He would just kick me. Where are you going?
I'm going over here where there's less people.
I'm just showing off bars and stuff anyways, but okay. So yeah, yeah, so it's a little bit harder to duel while explaining stuff and at the same time, but yeah, I'm probably going to beat him if I was actually focusing on it, plus I haven't played this game in a bit. But yeah, so this is Sheep, kind of also an Incapacitate. With Incapacitate, generally speaking, if you hit the target, it will break right away. The first Sheep lasts 7 seconds. Again, if you see that, it broke right away. The second Sheep, again, is going to last 3.5 seconds, and my Water Elemental just broke it, crap. And then the third Sheep is going to last half of 3.5 seconds to 1.7 seconds. And that's generally the case with CC in general. Roots take a certain amount of damage to break. They don't always break right away. as you can see, and then that's also diminishing return with the roots and stuff like that. So that root's not going to last as long. It lasts half, and then that root's going to even be cut even down even more. And then again, the slows have no diminishing return. Slows are all the time, and she just stunned me. So if she were to do another stun, and then again I interrupted her, she was casting a heal, so I just stopped her from casting that heal. And she's healing herself with her cocoon, which is a 1 minute cooldown. So like there's just a lot of different stuff in this game. Generally speaking, same type of CC, serious diminishing return. You should go ahead and show your Jade Lightning. So that's like a ranged way of doing damage. It's not a lot of damage, to be honest. She's a healer. There's other ways that she can do damage that are a little bit more, but still something. Well, that one hit me for 200k. But yeah, so it's still something. And she's trying to run through me, so I can't get my cast off and stuff. So, and I can also, I'm a mage, so I can spell still some of her heals, which I'm taking off of her, and you see they're going up here on me, because I'm selling some of her stuff. But it takes a lot of mana to spell still, so you can't really spam it, at least for mages. Other classes, it takes less. So, and again, if you see if I hit her, you saw like she has a slow debuff on her, which is the skull there. So she's slowed for a lot right now. You can see it when she's trying to move. Her movement speed is drastically reduced. So there's a lot of CC in this game, and you can just take advantage of all of it and stuff like that. So one thing, another thing to factor in, you should eat something, Hunt, so you can show, oh, you already ate, healed up, never mind. But yeah, you can also turn invisible in this game, like depending on what class you are, like you saw with the rogue, how he turned invisible on me. And this is how it looks kind of like when you're invisible. You kind of enter a shadow world, and you can hop out of it. And there's just, in general, like a whole bunch of different stuff you can do in this game. How I'd play if I was Frost is way different than how I'd play if I was Fire. So I guess I can show that off. And same with Arcane. But yeah, pretty much you see all of this is just spells, like all spells. And then there's talents that you can spec into. And then there's PvP talents, which all differ depending on what you're playing. So yeah, it just depends on what you're doing and how you want to play and such like that. And then my fire shield works differently as well as it looks differently. So she's disorientating me right now. And I just disorientated her, and I get all these extra fire buffs here and stuff, and yeah, I just burned her up. So yeah, it just shows you an example. Eat some food so they can see the regen with the food. And she popped this stone form here, which is a damage reduction. But yeah, and it makes her grow all big and stuff. It makes her look all stone color and stuff like that. But yeah, and as you can see, she's eating food. It's regenerating her health. So, and then I have these blinks and stuff like that. And in Arcane, show that off as well. And then again, look at my mana, how quickly my mana comes back because I'm eating. What the heck? They got rid of it. Okay, never mind. I guess I don't have that ability. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to kill her as Arcane. Oh, I have my PvP stuff on as well, so yeah, I'm not going to be able to kill her. She's probably going to be able to heal through everything I do. Oh, nope, I interrupted her at the end of her bar there. So I was able to kill her. But yeah, so there's that. And Arcane mages can evocate to get some of their mana back. So yeah, I thought I had my macro for all my abilities here, but instead I have this, which is Kirby with Fist. It's a macro I made up like a long time ago, just to talk smack to people. But yeah, like, so yeah. It just really depends. That's an arcane orb that really actually tears through a lot of melee. It's really good for rated battlegrounds. Like I said, you have casual rated battleground modes. Pretty much battlegrounds are 10 to 15, sometimes even 40 people for random casual battlegrounds. You have stuff where you're on ships and you're flying them around and trying to bomb gates so you can push into a castle and storm the enemy's fortress before they storm yours. You have controlling towers and killing mini bosses and stuff like that to get score and burn through reinforcements. So every single time that an enemy respawns, it burns a reinforcement. Every single time that somebody on your team respawns, it burns a reinforcement. If you burn the enemy's towers, it drastically reduces their reinforcements that they have available to go through. If you kill the enemy's bosses, it drastically reduces the reinforcements that the enemy has to go through. If you kill their main mega boss, it wins the game. And like their mega boss might be in a keep, so you have to get the keep walls down first, and you can control these flying zeppelins or battleships to start shooting down cannons at the gates. There's capture the flag, there's your basic base control. Not all the maps are that complicated, but again, with the abilities that go into it, there's multiple levels to some of the capture the flag maps. Like the first one you'll get is Warsong Gulch. It has 3 levels to the map, to the bases. There's the flag, which is on the main level. The second level is an in-between level, and then the third level is a rooftop. So you can literally have the priest leap of faith his warrior up to the second level, maybe even the third level, and the warrior might heroic leap up to the second level, and then the Death Knight might death grip him back down. It's just like stuff going all over the place, and they're trying to heal their flag carrier. Meantime, the flag carrier might be having a whole bunch of mage pop a crap ton of damage on him, like when I pop a crap ton of my damage. And the mage just got to be self-conscious of that, because if he pops spell reflect, all that damage is going to come back at me, and I can't absorb damage like a warrior can. So that's like, psst, I'm dead, you know? So just in general, it's just like, you got to know the classes, and it's lots of fun though once you do. Certain classes are better at other things. Rogues in general are better solo classes, which is why that rogue was able to beat me so easily. But if I was focusing, I'm a pretty decent player. I probably could have beat him a lot more easily. 2v2 arenas, 3v3 arenas. You can even go up, if you get high enough in them, you can go up to BlizzCon and win money. Sometimes the award is like $1 million split between 3 people. Other times it's $500,000 for the grand prize. And the qualifying rounds, you can actually win $5,000 to $10,000 as well. So leading into BlizzCon, so you can actually split that 3 ways if you end up making it high up in the 3v3s. There's 10v10. It's only 3v3s that is competitive at BlizzCon. There's 10v10, and then again, there's like awards you can earn for all these, like mounts and like custom mounts. Like there's all different kinds of mounts in this game, and there's like exclusive mounts only for gladiators. See, like look at all the different cool kinds of mounts you can get in this game, and to imagine that there's exclusive ones for being a certain rating in the game. Yeah, it does. I like my brown turtle for my transmog as well. It makes me look like a sand rover or something like that. So yeah, there's like all different kinds of mounts that you can get in this game and stuff like that. And like it creates there's all different kinds of things that you can do progressionally, like the raids, the dungeons, on the hardest difficulty, the PvP at the highest level of competitive C to unlock those mounts. And yeah, and then there's just for fun stuff. It's the same thing with the dungeons and the raids. Like you can queue up for heroics and normals, which are just for fun, or you can pre-made greets for mythics and actual raids, or you can just do casual raid finder, like I said, where if you don't want to invest that much time in the game but you actually enjoy it and you don't want to actually get too serious, and just do raid finder. So like there's a lot to do. Another in-game thing that you can do is Pokemon. So there's something called non-combatant companions. They're pets. So you can level them up throughout the world, and there's actually trainers throughout the whole entire world that you can fight and battle and stuff like that, and you can capture them. Like right near here now, it's saying I can capture this creepy crawler if I wanted to, and then add it to my collection of pets and stuff like that. And every single pet does have unique abilities, and as you level them, you can select different abilities and stuff like that, and you can battle them in pet battles, and you can even say find battle, and you can actually rank up, literally playing the World of Warcraft equivalent to Pokemon, and earn rewards as well. So if you're a Pokemon fanatic and you want to catch them all, and you actually want to be able to queue versus people, like, you know, really quickly, and actually battle in like a system where you can earn rewards and stuff like that, and like rewards, I'm talking about like maybe unique pets, I'm talking custom costumes, like all different kinds of stuff like that, you can earn that. So another thing that makes World of Warcraft so great is that it has beyond endless content. If you're a lore fanatic and you love story, oh my god, you're gonna have a hard time doing all these quests. And then even then, you can go into the raids, which extends off of the story, and get the raids down. You can go into PvP for competitive or casually. You can go into PvE for competitive or casually, and so they like literally come up with so many raids. Like for example, how long has it been for this expansion to spin out? Has it been a year or 2 years? It's been a year, right?
I think a year.
So that means that we have one more year of this expansion. And this is Broken Isles, which is pretty much the area I was in. So it's the whole entire new zone that they added for this expansion, where we leveled up and we got new quests and where all the new raids and dungeons are located. So just the open world, because right now I'm in the classic world, and earlier we were in the Legion world, which is Broken Isles. So literally these are all the bosses that you can kill that drop stuff and have all the unique abilities that just roam around the world. You know, they just roam around the world so you can kill them as long as they're up. That being said, is that that's just those bosses there. So that being said, is that these are raids. Now how raids work is that you instance into them. So you don't have to fight over them with the opposite faction, because there's Alliance and there's Horde, and they can fight each other in the open world. So you can instance into them, so you don't have to fight over them with the opposite faction, and it allows for the fights to be more dynamic and have more, you know, awesome environments. So in this raid, there's like what, 10 bosses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, so 9 bosses, and this is just the first raid that's open to you, and it drops like 865 item level. So you might want to do a few dungeons before doing this in order to get to like a comfortable item level of 850 before doing it. Oh, that's why. Normal drops 850. Heroic it drops 865. So you could do this raid on normal and heroic and mythic. You can do the next raid after that, which this one has 3 bosses, but they're pretty difficult, on normal, heroic, and mythic. And then you can do the Nighthold, which is the 3rd raid that's come out this expansion, on normal, heroic, and on normal, heroic, and mythic. And there are 12 bosses in Nighthold, I'm pretty sure. And then there's Tomb of Sargeras. Again, looking at like 11 bosses. So it's just, and we're not even done with this expansion yet. I mean, this might be the last raid, I think, for this expansion. They might just have it for the whole entire year. But if that's going to be the case, they're going to have a mini event or so for people to partake in. So, like, you have all these instance raids. You have bosses in the open world. And then this is, again, all these different Legion dungeons. These are all dungeons just for this expansion. Look at that. And it's crazy because look at the amount of bosses in here that you can do. And they all have their unique individual mechanics that make them different. Like some of them do have a lot, other of them don't have that many. Other ones have more trash, other ones have less trash. You know, so look at that. And Mythic Plus is lots of fun. Oh, the Karazhan especially, like there's the Opera Hall. So pretty much it depends on which week it is, it rotates. But pretty much there's Wicked, which is like the Wicked Witch of the West kind of story. And she drops like, you know, her hat. And you could check it out by clicking on it. And let's see how it looks. And then there's a class in this game called, I mean, there's a race in this game called Murlocs. If you play Heroes of the Storm, you've probably seen Murky. He's a baby Murloc, and they sound like mur. They're like a weird fish, tribal, tiny people and stuff like that. And in Westfall, there's a lot of Murlocs, and there's like kind of humans and stuff like that as well. And you kind of do quests for the humans to kill the Murlocs, because the Murlocs are just like a big huge infestation and control and stuff like that. So there's an opera hall story that you can get, that you act out on stage, and you pretty much like kill the boss as you're acting out on stage, called Westfall Story, because a human and a Murloc fall in love together. Ha 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 ha. So yeah, it's just ridiculous, you know. So it's just Beauty and the Beast. You know, you have all different kinds of, this one's Beautiful and the Beast. It's a little bit of a joke about it. So like, there's just all different kinds of stuff. They actually make the fights lots of fun and really interesting. Like, there is literally a fight. Wasn't there a fight with a guy? No, yeah. So there's a boss in Wrath of the Lich King in a raid called Ice Crown Citadel. It's where you go kill. It's the raid that you actually kill the Lich King Arthas in, and it's so funny because there's a boss called Rotface, and literally what he does is he's this really big, giant, fat boss, and he farts. He farts and he farts and he farts and he fills the room with gas that's killing you. So all the mechanics in the room revolve around these spores that you have to use. And you have to use these really good spores that hide underneath them, because they'll help like protect you from the gas that hurts so much. So literally there's a boss that kills you by farting. Like, how awesome is that? You can't tell me that's not cool. There's a boss that revolves around farting. So, I mean, like, they keep it pretty interesting. Again, this is just one expansion. So, one thing that they've been doing to add more content is that they've been revitalizing a lot of the older dungeons, and there's something called time walking. So every now and then, there will be a week where they time walk to an older expansion. So there's Classic WoW, there's Burning Crusades, there's Wrath of the Lich King, there's Cataclysm, there's Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, and right now we're on Legion. So time walking is pretty much any of the older dungeons from one expansion. So they might time walk to Cataclysm, so you can do all the Cataclysm dungeons, but they'll scale you down to the level of the dungeon and your gear to the item level of the dungeon. So it feels like you're kind of doing that dungeon again. And they've just added their first time walking raid, and I guarantee you more are going to follow, which is Black Temple, which is where you go and kill Illidan in Burning Crusades. So, pretty much that means that, like, all the other raids are going to follow from Wrath of the Lich King and everywhere else and stuff like that they're guaranteed to add more time walking raids. So, on top of the fact that you have all the current progressional stuff that you're going to get to do from expansion to expansion, generally there's an expansion every single 2 years to 2.5 years. Sometimes there's an expansion that's like a year and like 9 months, but you can pretty much average it out. 2 years there's an expansion. That's been the case for World of Warcraft. You can literally count the amount of expansions for World of Warcraft, including Classic, multiply that by 2, and pretty much that's how long World of Warcraft's been out. Like, for example, there's Classic, Burning Crusades, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Warlords of Draenor, Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, and Legion. So that's 7, right? I don't think I counted one twice, so that's 7. So that means that World of Warcraft has roughly been out for roughly 14 years, right? So if we go over here and we go over to Feats of Strength, I think it should be in Feats of Strength. Right? Where's the promotional events? 12th. 2016 was the 12th anniversary of WoW, meaning that this year will be the 13th. Let me count them again. Classic, Burning Crusades, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor. Yeah, Legion. So this one hasn't been out for a full year yet. That's why. So at the end of this year, another expansion is going to come out. But it's like roughly 13. So A couple of the expansions ran a little bit longer apparently, but roughly 2.5 years it's an expansion. 2 years and a quarter, give or take. So yeah, like, um, so yeah, there's that, and so it keeps you busy. It gives you stuff to do, and it's completely up to you how much time you want to invest. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be the very best. This game can be very rewarding for investing a little bit of time. I will say this though, it won't be very rewarding, and it won't be that enjoyable of a game for investing a little bit of time at lower level. You are going to want to level up your character as quickly as possible. And once you get level 15, the dungeons make it go so much easier. It really does. It just goes by so quickly because the dungeons provide you so much experience, it's not even funny. So if once you get level 15, you should definitely dungeon. If you're not playing with friends, I suggest you roll a healer or a tank for your first character, because dungeon queues on damage dealers are a lot longer. They're typically speaking shortest on tanks and second shortest on healers. You won't be waiting that long for either of those. And then if you meet up with people in party that you want to run with again, add them. Like, dead serious, add them. So that way it makes your queues a little bit quicker. Um, but it will still not be that bad to quest all the way up. But it will take you a little bit longer, So if you go at it non-stop, like with no BOA gear, which helps you level quicker, it gives you bonus experience, you could level, hypothetically speaking, to max level, or at least to the later end stuff, in like 3 days with no sleep. But for the majority of real people, it's gonna like take them for their first character a few weeks. If you really hate leveling, it might take you even a few months, like if you stop and go and stuff like that. But the most enjoyable part of this game is definitely once you get to level cap, or at least to the current progressional content. So the recent quests, the recent everything. And when a new expansion comes out, it's like the best thing. Like, it's like when you get all those new quests and stuff like that, it's always good to do content as it's coming out in this game. Like, I don't know any other way to explain it besides that, but because like when you're doing content as it's coming out, it's way more enjoyable than doing it after it's been out for a while. So if you're like a newer player to this game, for example, you'll still enjoy doing all the Legion stuff. It'll be lots of fun for you the first time around and stuff like that. But I don't know if you've seen the World of Warcraft trailer for Legion, where a couple of the main characters were going to an island, and their ships that they were on, the flying zeppelins, crashed down into the ocean, stuff like that, and they started fighting. So after, you're part of that landing party, pretty much. So when the ships crash down, your character is part of that crusade. So you're fighting along those main characters from that cinematic, and the game does a very good job of introducing you along into that point, so you feel like you've been there the whole entire time. And even before that, there is a pre-Legion event before that. So there is a whole bunch of cinematics and a whole bunch of story and stuff like that, and little mini events that we did before the expansion came out, before that trailer was even released, that trailer extended off of. So that trailer that you saw for Legion with King Varian on his ship and stuff like that is actually an extension off of stuff that we did before that. And then after that, that's what you saw when the game came out, pretty much. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not going to spoil for you, because that's just mean. That happens after that trailer. So when when the game came out and that intro was available on Legion, and everybody went and did that event and stuff like that, it was real. There was a whole bunch of Alliance players there. There was a whole bunch of Horde players there. And the Legion came to our home, Azeroth, and we were not able to kill each other, because we put aside our differences to just focus on the Legion. But the amount of people that was there, oh my god, like you would have to have a good computer to not have any lag issues, or like turn on your graphics all the way, because the amount of people that was there from both sides made it feel like a full-on war. Like a full-on war to protect the planet that we live on, called Azeroth. So it's really awesome to do stuff as it comes out. because it feels like it just immerses you so much to have everybody there behind you that you're fighting alongside with for the same goal and to take down the same big bad guy, throughout the questing experience and stuff like that. Now, if you go back, there are a lot of people who level alts and level alternative characters, and it's always going to be the case. So when you come to the game as a new player and you get to that stuff later, there's still going to be a lot of people doing that because World of Warcraft has like 6 to 8 million active players. I mean, it's the most popular paid subscription-based MMO, if not game, existing. There's no game that has a monthly fee that has this many people playing it. And to be quite honest, besides League of Legends, there's no game that's had this many players ever try it. I think Blizzard said that over the course of World of Warcraft's existence, they've had, I want to say over, was it like, did they say like over 40 million people try their game? Or something like that? Like over 40 million people, or over 33 million people have tried World of Warcraft. So over 33 million people have tried World of Warcraft. Oh, for League of Legends numbers, over 138 million people have tried League of Legends. The highest amount of subscribers in other words, the highest amount of active players World of Warcraft has had at its peak was 16 million people in Wrath of the Lich King. The average World of Warcraft has sustained is 6 million. The average peak from expansion to expansion is roughly about 8 million. The second highest expansion that they did best on ended with like 11 million active players, which was Burning Crusades. So, like, it's just ridiculous that there's been that many people paying $15 a month and buying the game and stuff like that. There's a reason for it. There is a reason for it. It's not because this game is crap, because you'll hear that from people all the time. Oh, this game's a Lord of the Rings ripoff. That's not true. First of all, Lord of the Rings Online came out after World of Warcraft did. Second of all is that people like to sit there and think that the first story ever created that had orcs in it was Lord of the Rings. Orcs and magic and elves and all different kinds of fantasy of stuff like that has existed, at least with that particular genre of nymph and like fairy type, fae type stuff, because orcs are kind of an extension from, like, depending on which storyline you follow, they're extension from elven magic or they're extension from demonic magic. And pretty much the stories that existed around that stuff has been around for like 200 years as far as storytelling has gone. Like, in fantasy wise, it's been roughly about 200, 300 years since people have been writing fantasy around that. Lord of the Rings isn't even 80 years old. The books aren't even 80 years old. Actually, they might be roughly about 80 years old now. They're not 90 years old. They're not 90 years old. That means that there's been 210 years of story before them of stuff like this. And again, the way that orcs work in World of Warcraft is completely different than Lord of the Rings. Orcs are born from elfin magic and like, like an unholy elven magic. They like suck the magic out of elves and they bury like dead elves' corpses, I believe, into the ground, and then they use some other dark, unholy conjuring magic to merge the magic that they sucked from the elves' bodies into the dead elven corpses with something else, and then they rise up as orcs. And in World of Warcraft, that's just not the case at all. Orcs are from a completely different planet. They're just another species of animal, of intelligent life from a different planet. There's multiple planets in World of Warcraft. People don't really know that because they're like, what is such a fantasy game? Like, it's very steampunk, and yes, it's fantasy, but there's guns in here. There's rocket ships. There's, like, flying zeppelins. There's spaceships. There is literally spaceships in this game. Half of the fights that we do this expansion take place on spaceships. So, like, it's just, people sit there and they think, like, oh, Sword and Shield. Just another one of those fantasy games, and it's not. If you look at a lot of games like Lord of the Rings Online, Star Wars: The Old Republic Online, Rift is really good in its differences. I think the main thing about Rift is it started out as a World of Warcraft clone, but World of Warcraft has changed a lot of things to make it simpler for newer players, and Rift has not. So Rift still has a big, huge classic WoW feeling to it, but they changed the art style Rift to the point where the game has kind of feels like its own, and the abilities are kind of unique as well, where they changed the abilities from how they originally used to be. But a lot of games clone World of Warcraft. It's like ridiculous. Like I can literally boot up Star Wars: The Old Republic right now, which came out in Cataclysm. So what? That's World of Warcraft's third expansion. You know, fourth game base if you count Classic as a game base. So like that's World of Warcraft's third expansion. So it's after World of Warcraft's already been out for at least 4 or 5 years. Star Wars: The Old Republic comes out, and I can literally till this very day match ability for ability in Star Wars for every single class to World of Warcraft. If anybody who's played Star Wars knows what I'm talking about, if you played a smuggler or a bounty hunter and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I have 2 pistols in my hand. Why the hell do half of my abilities work like this, where I'm whacking people with pistols? Maybe because it's mirrored from a World of Warcraft rogue. Like, you know, so like literally I can match every single ability in Star Wars to an ability in World of Warcraft. There might be 4 abilities. I'm being extremely generous. 4 to 6 abilities in the whole entire game that are not in WoW. So that just gives you an idea of how bad TOR is a WoW clone. Like, it really is a WoW clone. It's just disgusting. So, you know, that, I mean, there should be better copyright laws when it comes to stuff like that. So, you gotta give the game a try. Like, hands down, you gotta give the game a try. This is, like, higher level stuff. It's not worth getting into. But, yeah, it's a really great game. Tons of abilities, tons of stuff to do. You know, tons of customization. You go into keybinds here. If you're not happy with your movement, there's literally changing movement keys. You can even check off character-specific keybinds. So, you know, it's for those characters only. If you want to move one way on one character, another way on the other. There's chat options. You can even change something as basic from having enter for chat. Maybe you play first-person shooters where it's like T for team chat, and you're more comfortable with that. So you can change it to that. Action bars. You can customize all your action bars and second action bars and side action bars with hotkeys. Riddle them with hotkeys, so you can have full customization over your action bars, your pet bars. So you can have a hotkey for everything. You know, if you have like a Naga mouse with a whole bunch of buttons on the side, targeting options, like you can hit tab target, which will automatically sort through targets. You can do previous target options. You can hit targeting options into macros, so it can switch to previous targets and stuff like that. I mean, like literally, there's a keybind for everything. You know, like for everything. You can keybind everything from like your bags. Like I press B to open up all my bags, and it's sitting here saying F8 for bag 1, F9 for bag 2, so on, so on, so on. And like miscellaneous for mounting, dismounting, etc. All the different kinds of stuff. You can unsheath your weapon. There's a stop casting button. There's like all that different kinds of stuff. Like you can literally keybind everything. So there is no shortage. There's like set camera view. So if you want to sit there and switch camera angles real quickly, I know that's very useful in Battlefield. I suppose somebody could make it useful for World of Warcraft. You could do that as well, set macros for setting camera angles. And then there's even like extra action button, because sometimes you have an extra ability depending on certain fights and stuff, or if you're in certain vehicles you have an extra ability and you can use that. So World of Warcraft does have a very unique and strong story, and you'll get immersed with it.
I'm shutting down, love.
Yeah, okay, Liv. I'm gonna join you in here in a second. You'll get immersed with it, but it's really good story, and I think anybody should definitely give it a shot. It's lots of fun to play. So that's about it. This is an overall guide of everything for WoW. I know it's kind of long. I'll do a shorter one breaking down interface and the basic features and everything and stuff like that. But that's about it. Hope you enjoyed, and hope it was enough.